I'm talking today, as you know, about writing a good college application essay, scholarship essay too. All of those skills transfer over to those essays. And so this is very practical. Where writing becomes very, very practical for you. No matter where you're headed after college, or after high school, you're going to be essentially advertising yourself and in writing in these essays. Yeah, and so she has a lot of experience that she brings to this, and so she's going to give you some tips to put you in a good position for those kinds of things. So welcome her, and thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a big group today. I want to make sure, the very important point I want to make today is that you don't walk out of here without getting all of your questions answered. So if there's anything that I talk about today that you don't understand what I'm saying, immediately raise your hand and say, quite get that, could you explain that, or please do that. So it's a lot of slides that I'm going to go through. I want to make sure that you're clear on what I'm saying today. So put all your stuff away, all your things on the floor. I don't need them at this point. And it's a very general presentation about the essay. You know, some of you have already written a college application essay, which is great. So what the colleges are looking for really are three things when you write an essay. And this is any college, whether it's a heavy selective school, whether it's a less selective, or three things. You need to talk about your voice, who you are as a person. We're looking for you to tell your story, because your story is different than her story, is different than her story. Everybody has a story to tell when they write their essay. And the thing about the essay is that what makes it so important is that it takes that application and it makes it come alive. Your application is all about test scores, it's all about your GPA, it's all about a lot of things that are more data-driven. And the reason the essay is so important is it makes that essay, makes that application turn you into a person, which is great. Now, let's back up just a little bit and talk about what's really important in the college application. And I'm sure your counselors have talked to you a little bit about what's important, or they will be talking about what's important in the application process. The single most important factor in the college application is your transcript. The kinds of courses you've taken, the grades you've gotten, whether or not you challenged yourself in terms of try an honors level class, take a political class. You don't have to do it. If you challenge yourself enough at the level you are, that's great. The transcript's going to be the most important factor. Other factors and pieces of the puzzle, and you can take notes on this. You don't have to. I've got lots of handouts for you here on the essay, so just relax. I'd much rather have you really listen carefully. Other factors and the pieces of the puzzle in this application process: recommendations from your counselor, if the college requires it, recommendation from your teachers from the junior or senior year, very important, from an academic teacher, so English, math, social studies, foreign language, or science, very important. If you have a specific talent that you bring to the table, that's very important, that colleges might be looking for. And that can be an academic talent, that can be artistic, musical, athletic. Those are all pieces that are important to the college or university. Activities are very important. And those activities can be here at Grand Rapids Christian. Within the high school, they can be activities that you can do outside of high school. If you have to work because you have to help support family, that's an activity, and that's very important, and colleges want to know that. So those are all things that you can bring to the table with the application. Testing is an important piece. Everybody worries about the ACT or the SAT. You know, yeah, that's an important piece, and some colleges and universities are more data-driven, so that becomes a little bit more of an important piece, but that's just a piece of it. And you can take tests multiple times, and colleges are looking for your best group of tests. So don't worry and focus so much on the testing. That's a piece of it, not the total piece of it. Special circumstances are important. So if the essay question doesn't lend itself for you to explain what those special circumstances were and why you dipped below normal grades, say your second semester, your sophomore year, your grades weren't as good, maybe your parents got a divorce, maybe you were sick that semester, and you needed to get your grades up and that you couldn't. So what you need to do is you need to write an extra essay to say, here's what happened that second semester and I need to explain that. So you need to do that to get that essay to that college or university. If you need to send in a portfolio because you're an artist or you're a photographer and you want to send a portfolio in, start working with your art teacher or your photography teacher and send in that portfolio. But work with them right now. This is the time to do that. If there are any supplemental materials you need to include, make sure you do that. If you're an actress and you're an actor and you want to audition, make sure that you get your audition dates correct, make sure you dress appropriately. If they're asking for a 2-minute monologue, and it's a contemporary monologue that they're asking for, don't go in with a humorous monologue. Make sure you give them what they ask for. If they give you an opportunity to interview, do that. Even if you're shy and you think, oh, I don't know what I would say, I'm not sure what I would do, give yourself the opportunity to go in with your counselor, go in with your teacher and say, can you give me some time to practice before I go to my interview with school X? I would like to do that because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. I'm kind of shy. Practice here first, and then, because colleges want to gather information about you before they make a decision. And the more information they have about you, the better decision they can make. Okay, so do all colleges look at essays the same? Well, first of all, not all colleges require an essay. So if you're lucky enough to apply to schools that don't require an essay, that's great. You might apply to a state school at the beginning of September, doesn't require an essay. You might have an answer by the end of September that you're in. Great, you have a home, you can wear the sweatshirt, you're done. Send in your housing, and you can enjoy the rest of your senior year. But if you do apply to a school that requires an essay, here's how they use them. They use them for a couple of reasons. One, they might differentiate those top candidates. These highly selective schools where a lot of the candidates look the same, they have the same GPA, the same test scores, great activities, really bright kids. They have to differentiate those kids somehow, and that's where this essay comes in handy. That's where the essay is so important there. The other place the essay is so important is that borderline candidate. If you're a borderline candidate, your grades are right on the edge. This might be your reach school, and you're in what's called that gray zone. It's really important that your essay stands out. So if you're that gray zone borderline candidate, this essay is the place for you to shine. So they use it in that borderline place. So these essays are used differently at big state schools, at selective schools, at non-selective schools, at small schools, at large schools. It's different everywhere. So let's talk about what colleges are looking for. They're looking really to build a diverse class. They're not looking for all smart kids, so the academic piece, they're looking for all different kinds of kids academically. They're looking for all kinds of kids socioeconomically. They're looking for all kids with different interests. They're looking for all kids with different talents. I said one time to an admissions director, why did you not take this student? School X took him, and they're very similar type schools. And I was very upset. I said, you're very similar kinds of schools. Why did you not take him? She said, we're not all cookie cutters. We're not all looking for the same things in our admissions. And that's the truth. If a school is graduating a football player, a musician, an artist, they might want to enter those kinds of students in their freshman class. So you might have talent as an oboe player, and you might have the same grades and the same test scores, or maybe a little bit lower than you, but you play the oboe. You might have much better grades and test scores, but she got in, you didn't, because she plays the oboe. But that's how it goes sometimes with these colleges and universities. It isn't always fair, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking to build a class with a diverse community, with diverse talents, different options. And sometimes schools are looking as well as students are looking. So the difference is you guys are looking for different kinds of schools, and maybe you would be looking at Colorado College that has one course at a time. So you take one class for 3.5 weeks and you have 4 days off. Or you might be looking at St. John's that has seminar type classes, and most of their curriculum is based on the great books. So you have to look at different kinds of schools, and you have to look at that fit. And the essay tells the college whether or not you'd be a good fit for their college or university. People who make the decisions are also very different in these admissions policies too, and that's what they look at in terms of the essay. So let's talk about not sweating over things that you can't change, all right? Your transcript at this point is what it is, right? You can't sweat over the C you might have gotten in English your sophomore year only. I don't think anybody here probably got C's in English, right? You're all good English students. If you did get a C somewhere, you can't do anything about it now, so don't worry about it. What you can change and what you can work on, and you should be continuing to work on, are your senior grades. Of course, your junior grades are still really important, but your senior grades do count. Don't let anybody tell you they don't. Every college admissions, when you get admitted to college next year, every college admissions is contingent upon great grades at the end of your senior year. So they can withdraw their admissions if your senior grades are not good. So please make sure you continue to work hard your senior year. The other thing that you can work on, which will be within your control, of course, is your essay. So what colleges look at, and you'll hear me say this throughout this presentation, is your writing ability, your thought process, a sense of who you are, your values, your preferences, your style. That's what they're looking at throughout this essay process. So they want to know, can you write? They want you to tell your story, polish it, spell check it, and proofread it. They don't want to see, and for that reason, Daniel was my best fried. Because if you spell check that, fried is a word, they don't want to know that he was your best fried, they want to know that he was your best friend. So you don't want to look like a complete idiot when you send in this wonderful essay with Daniel being your best fried. He wants to be your best friend. So make sure that you have somebody read that essay very carefully, your teachers, your parents, somebody, before you send in this essay with that very, very simple, easily fixed spell check error. Can you think? Sometimes essays can be very flat because in a lot of schools, the same kinds of students will be applying. Many of you might be applying to some very wonderful Christian colleges, and you all might be saying the same kinds of things. I'm looking for a spiritual environment, I'm looking for a Christian environment, I'm looking to continue mission experiences, and it can look the same, it can look very flat unless you change the kinds of things that you say in that essay. So you have to support what you say, and the college is looking for that in the essay. They're also looking to help, the essay will judge what kind of understanding a student has of a social or an intellectual issue. So you really kind of have to be aware of that essay question and what it's asking. They're looking to see if you took the question seriously, and did it look pretty predictable when you were writing. In other words, were you pretty cliche when you answered, I chose college X because college X is committed to learning and I want to learn. That's a pretty cliche way of answering that question. And that's what a lot of kids will do. What does really that mean? You know, that's a pretty boring way of answering. Did he take risks? They ask that. Did he buy it off the internet? They read hundreds, thousands of these. They know. They have software to show that you bought something off the internet. They don't want you to do that. Please don't do that. Don't take the easy way out and buy something off the internet. Not good for you, doesn't bode well, doesn't feel good for you. What can the essay do for you? It really personalizes the self-presentation that you do on the application. It takes away from the data, boring data that is part of the application. It shows your personality, shows your writing ability, conveys your personal style under less pressure. When you do an interview, you are under pressure. You are in the zone. You are in the moment in that interview. So it might not be your best necessarily, but with the essay, you've got time. You've got time to sit down in the library. You've got time to sit down in your own bedroom. You've got time to rewrite, revise, talk to your parents, talk to your teachers about it. You don't have that time, that moment in the interview like you do with the essay. And it really should convey information not found in the application. Kids make this mistake all the time. They'll list their activities in the application, and then they'll relist their activities in the essay. That's not the point of this. The point of the essay is to pick something that's important to you and then support it with very good supporting statements. Not list all the activities, everything you've done since kindergarten. Not the thing to do. So this is the place to shine and stand out in that recommendation, in that essay. Stand out from the other kids. Now the other thing is you don't need to panic. These are things that you've done. This essay is the kind of essay you've done for 12 years. It's familiar to you, the introduction, the body, the conclusion. Only difference with this is that it's about you. You are the subject. It's not about The Great Gatsby or Catcher in the Rye or other subjects that you've written about. You are the subject. So guess what? There is no wrong answer here. You can't make a wrong answer about you. You could write a generic, maybe boring essay, but you don't want to do that because you are the subject, so there is no wrong answer. The colleges are not looking for a single answer. They're looking for a specific student, and that student is going to be you. And you can do this. It's very, very good. The process is going to be brainstorming, organizing, writing, and rewriting. And I think the thing you have to, and then editing, of course. And I think the thing that you have to remember is you have to avoid that shotgun approach that I talked about earlier, is writing every single thing that you want to ever write about, that you ever did, your whole life, you know, about yourself. You have to select one thing, illuminate it, and really less is more in terms of this essay. It's kind of like cleaning your room. You throw everything in the middle of the floor and then make piles, you know, and then those piles sort of emerge. You have to organize those piles and put everything away. Then you pick one thing and make it a pattern that will emerge in this essay, and that's what you want to do. We're really defined sort of by the choices that you make in these essays. How you write is going to reveal your ability as a writer, and the admissions people will see that. What you write about reveals you. And the list of questions, you have to really look at the list of questions before you sit down to write. Look at the list of questions that the application is giving you before you just dive into writing, because one might fit you better. And then see, because all the questions are really sort of narrow down to 3 questions. The you question, and one of them was from Columbia University. An example of a you question is, write an essay which conveys to the reader a sense of who you are. Yeah. Yes, I know. I know, exactly. The why us question from Bryn Mawr, which is a women's college, says, what do you think you would gain from the educational experience at Bryn Mawr, and what would you contribute to the community? And then the creative question from Lehigh says, step out your front door and tell us what you would change and what you would see. Yeah, exactly. There was another question that the University of Chicago once did that said, it's page 353 of your autobiography. What does it say? Now,
didn't they have one that was don't talk about reverse psychology?
Yes, the University of Chicago has very good question. And now the requester has their freshmen write the question for the next year's freshmen. But now these are all very highly selective schools. Let me tell you, normal schools have normal questions. Don't be afraid that every school in the universe has questions like this. There are very normal questions from regular schools, and I don't want to, I'm not dissing to the very highly selective schools. But what they're trying to find here again is your thought process, how you write, how you persuade, your mastery of the English language, and that's every school. It's not about the question. Don't be afraid of the question here. You just have to kind of start. And starting really is the hardest part. Okay, so let's talk about what that question does. One of the young ladies said it in front here. It can be direct, it can be an open opportunity to speak for yourself, but it's also extremely open-ended. There's a temptation to tell everything. There's a temptation to try and sound academic and scholarly. And it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? You know, so it's very hard, I think, sometimes with this question to get started, which is why I'll show you this one brainstorming thing that you can kind of do to do that. And some of the things I'm going to give you today will help you with that too. If you talk about the why us question, the advantages is directly about you and your choices. So if you're talking about why us, and you said, gee, I would love to go to Bates College, which is up in Maine, and because I really want to take advantage of the research opportunities there, that's a great thing to talk about, because you're saying, I want to go to school X because, well, those are things that you've chosen. These are the reasons I've chosen these schools, but don't talk about these schools and try and glamorize what they have, because they already know what they have. You don't want to constantly, this is what I'm talking about in the disadvantages. Tone can be a problem. If you're talking about the school and you're saying, gee, I would love to go to the University of Illinois because they have such a great engineering program, and you're constantly trying to, for lack of a better phrase, suck up to them, they know how great they are. They know what great programs. By you telling them that, that's not an advantage for you. They already know that. Don't tell them things they already know. You need to tell them why you chose them. Did you go visit a classroom when you were there? Did you meet with a coach when you were there? Why did you choose that school? Give them specific examples about what attracted you to that campus. It has to be very specific, and that will set the tone for what that why us question can make it much more helpful to you. Don't sit there and try and compliment. The creative question can be fun because the form is provided. Sometimes it's a hero, sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a national issue. It can be fun. If you are a creative writer, if you're a humorous writer, this can be a great question to use. If you are not a creative writer, this is not the place to start to be a creative writer, right? But if you want to take a risk and you are pretty creative, and it might be the place for that reach school for you to be a creative writer and do this. The disadvantage is sometimes it can be an essay without substance and it can make no sense. And that's not great for an essay. So you have to be kind of careful. And it can be very risky. Other essay problems. All right. If you have seen any college applications, many of them will give you 1 page to do an essay. Some of them will give you 2 inches to do an essay. So you think, oh, piece of cake, I can write something in 2 inches. That's easy. This is an easy one. Not an easy one. The expectation is that you will do just as great a job and be just as significant in 2 inches as you are in 1 page. So that's very important for you to make sure you're just using fewer lines, but that you are just being as significant. Make sure you do that. If they ask you to send a writing sample, you don't have to necessarily send a paper where you got an A. With you, just 1 second. That you received an A. Sometimes it's better to send a paper where you got a B or a B+ with lots of teacher comments on it, because it can show how hard you worked and maybe how demanding that teacher or that class was. So that's important. When I talk about start strong, start fast, I mean start strong with a great opening. Edit that great opening because you want a great opening, you want supportive middle, you want a great ending that wraps it all up. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, just a quick question, like in the 2, if they give you this small space, is it a really bad idea to like attach a larger? Like,
if they want 2 inches in that space, they typically say in this space only. Don't attach anything. Give them always what they ask for first, and that's it. Good question. Thank you for asking that. Now here's what I call a dead-on-arrival essay. In college, I plan to continue to live a well-rounded life, meeting and working with people from a variety of backgrounds. I expect to prepare for a profession that permits me to be closely related to children as well as adults. I want to help people. I have gotten so much out of life with the love and guidance of my family. I feel that many individuals have not been as fortunate. Therefore, I would like to expand the lives of others. Now, it's nice. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's really nothing that tells us anything about this individual other than a very generic statement about how she wants to help people, how she's had the love and guidance of her family, and she's been fortunate. That's it. There's nothing that can help this admissions staff to say what that the girl is going to add to the community. Girl or boy, I shouldn't say just girl. So often what the admissions staff will call this is a Boy Scout essay. Eager, involved, loyal. And they can't use it. It's not the kind of essay that will get a student out of that gray zone and put them in the admit pile. So you have to be very careful that you don't end up with a generic essay like this, that you give something that is that it has more supportive statements than this young lady has given. So essays fail because they're too comprehensive, there's no focus, they're too general, there's no proof. That is where they end up being those Boy Scout essays. You don't want to have that. So you start by brainstorming. You make a list. And if we've got time at the end, I might have you do this. And you want to make a list. You can sit down and do this. You can set a timer. You want to start with maybe making a list of accomplishments that you have. You can start with that. You can start with making a list of your strengths and weaknesses. And we'll do this at the end, so don't panic about time. Places you've been, things you've done. These are just some of the topics that you might want to think about. So if you get that why us question or tell us about yourself question, these are some of the topics that you want to do. The extraordinary. Don't worry about the audience at this point. You just want to sit down and think about sort of a soul-searching thing that you want to do. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Your purpose then sort of is to persuade, to organize, to kind of get this essay started. And the other thing you want to do is, once you get a topic, you want to make sure that you can get those supportive statements after those topics. So if you have one topic that says, I'm concerned about the welfare of others, but you can only come up with one supporting statement for that, that's what they call an institutional response. That, gee, I think that's what the admissions staff might want to hear. So that sounds really good. I'm going to say I'm concerned about the welfare of others, but I can only come up with one supporting statement for that. That's an institutional response. If you think that's what they want to hear, forget it. Come up with a different topic. Go back to your list and look for something else that you can come up with more supportive statements. So that would be something that you want to trash and do something else. Editing is your friend. You've got to focus and prove what your strategy, of course, is to focus and prove. You've got to reread the essay and make sure that you come up with at least one or two ideas. And be yourself with these when you're writing. The admissions staff has read hundreds and thousands of these essays. They don't want to have you write like you're somebody else. They want to hear your voice in writing. So you want to avoid cliches like, I'm going to bring to college X as much as college X can bring to me. They've heard that 1,000 times. What does that mean again anyway? I learned a lot and interacted with others different from myself. I benefited from the love and support of my family. These are all cliches that colleges have heard 1,000 times. And I love to work, I learned to work well with others. Again, proofread, proofread, proofread. If you are using these kind of cliche phrases, trash them. It doesn't work for them. You need to support anything you come up with and with specific examples. Make the essay yours. All writers get help. Everyone gets help. David Letterman has a staff of writers. You can have some writers that get help, that help you. But there are no live-in editors. You don't want your parents to be your live-in editors. You want to make sure that you can get help from people here at school. You can get help from your counselors. That's really okay, but you can't misrepresent yourself. This essay has to be about your voice. They certainly know the difference between a 17-year-old voice and a 45-year-old voice. So it's really important that it becomes your voice and your story. So believe in yourself. Believe in what you have talked about and what you have said. So let's say you're at the very last minute of the very last week on the very last day of the application and you have nothing that you thought about. So here's some last minute tips. You go to your room and you look around, and let's pick 3 things in your room that you're looking at. You've been in your room forever. Take a look at them. Here's that poster that has some significance. There's a chunk of rock that you picked up from the Galapagos Islands when you were out there. There's something that has some significance in your room that maybe might generate an essay topic. Or look through the family album. See if there's something in that photo album that can generate a topic. Talk to your parents. They've known you for 17 years. The good, the bad, and the ugly. They might be able to help generate a topic. Your coaches, your teachers, they certainly know you well here. They might be able to help you come up with something. Think about something you used to believe in but don't anymore, and why. What was true but now is not true anymore. That might generate some thoughtfulness or some essay topic that would help you. Just some tips to remember. Tell us about yourself. Really is all the questions in one way or another. Come up with that statement telling us about yourself. Familiar format, of course, I've talked about this, is you. It's a regular essay, of course, that you've been writing forever, and the only difference is that you are the subject. And it's a chance to add to your application. This is really not a punishment, even though it appears to be a punishment because you're so busy senior year, you've got so much to do, and all you want to do is dash this application off, and you don't want to write yet another essay. Really think of it as a way for you to stand out among all of the other applicants at this college or university where you really, really want to attend and make a difference on campus. So the way to make a difference in this application is to use your voice and tell your story. Show them what a very, very good writer you are. Show them the kind of person you are. Show them why they should have you on their campus. And the way to do that is to tell your story through this essay. And you can do this. All right, 5 myths. One of them, the first one is that you must write about something no one has ever written about. Absolutely false. There's a right answer to every question? No. There's only your answer to that question. You have to be funny, clever, or wacky? No, only if they're asking you to be funny, clever, or wacky, and they don't ask you to do that. You have to write this essay alone? No. We don't want you to write it alone. We want you to get help with it. Your essay can get you in. There's sort of an answer to this that's true. Your essay can get you in if everything else is supported and you're in the gray zone and your essay is really outstanding. Yes, that can move you from the gray zone to the accept pile. That is true. But if your grades aren't good, if your ACT or SAT is not good, but your essay is outstanding, that is not going to put you to the accept pile alone. So that is false. Just some common mistakes. Thinking of admissions committee as stuffy old people you need to impress. No. Think of the fact that you just need to tell your story. You don't need to impress them. You need to just know what you not want to tell them. That's what you want to know. That's what you want to do. Trying too hard to be memorable. No. You just, again, want to tell your story. You want to be on that campus, so tell them why you want to be on that campus. Don't write a predictable or generic essay where if you changed any of the nouns in the essay, you could be like anybody else in this high school. Don't want to do that. Forgetting that counselors, teachers, parents are your allies in this process. Make sure you remember that. People are here to help you with this process. I just put these in for your parents so to remind them that there's a can-do list. They can't do, this is the can't-do list first, that they can't make the guidance department their own personal support system. Certainly the guidance department is here to help the parents, but really this is your process. They cannot write the essays for you. You tell them this is your process. They can't shield you from rejection because this is all part of the application process, that there are acceptances and rejections you have to do. This is all part of life. And they can't let inertia teach its lesson here. They do have to help you get the process rolling here. The can-do list that they can do for you, because I know once you became juniors, wasn't the topic started for you, college, 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 every discussion at every dinner table, college, college, college. Well, now it's going to be, have you gotten your college essay started? Are you starting your essays? What we suggest to the parents is, don't talk about essay questions. Ask about the essay. Lend a sympathetic ear. If you ask for help with the writing, let them help you. But stay on the sidelines until the writing begins. If you want their help, ask them for it. But it really has to be your process and your writing and your story. That's what we'd like it to be. So thank you.